It is over $1,000 a square foot, which when we sell this will be the highest price per square foot ever sold in Lake Las Vegas. The only other one that sold close to that was actually the one that's right down to the right there. That sold at $929 a square foot. Keep in mind, there is a major incentive to this property, which is nobody can build a pool of that size anymore. So you're not going to see anything larger than 600 square feet at any of these properties anymore. So if you look next door, for some reason, he don't even know why they decided to go with the 600 square feet before it was even changed. So it'll give you a good perspective. Like even the client that I walked through here on Saturday, it was the one thing for them that was a selling point, although they didn't settle on Lake Las Vegas. They couldn't get over the pool. They kept walking back out to the pool. They couldn't believe how big it was. And then especially when they looked at the neighbor's pool, they're like, why would somebody even build a pool that small? So this is going to be a major asset to any future purchase. And that's why we're priced at where we're priced at. He's already had an offer on this property long before it was even at this stage. It was far below where it was still in the high sixes, which was still a record for this neighborhood. If you guys are not familiar with, most of South Shore, Lake Las Vegas, most of those homes are probably averaging $350 to $450 a square foot. There was one that sold over $500 a square foot that was a new spec. It was more like Spanish style. Anything on this side. So when the developer of Raintree, so I'll give you guys a little history on this real quick. So, Lake Las Vegas opened up. They were developing for years. Obviously 2009 came and Lake Las Vegas went to shit. I mean, literally all the golf courses dried up. And that's what, believe it or not, a lot of people still have that perception that Lake Las Vegas still looks that way. It surprises me how many agents I speak with that are experts, that have not been out to Lake Las Vegas in the last, this has been at least 5 years that they've done this repair. I mean, all of this updating, because when I was out here 6 years ago, God, it's been longer than that now, probably 7 or 8 years. So that tells me some agents haven't been here in probably 8 or 9, 10 years, because they're still thinking that it's all dried up. When they open North Shore, which this is considered North Shore on this side, the other side is South Shore. On South Shore, you're going to see majority of Tuscan and Mediterranean style homes inside the gates. And then on this side, they wanted to go a different direction. So they wanted to go more modern on this side, and that's why you're starting to see more of the modern design, because that was one thing that kept people from purchasing in Lake Las Vegas. As the market started to recover in 2014, 15, and people were coming back to the market, people didn't want to purchase out here because they're like, Darin, I don't want a Tuscan home or a Mediterranean home. I want modern. So when they opened the estates here originally, which is where we're at, this gated community that we came into, I managed this side as well. There's about 41 lots in here, I believe. What they did at first is they carved out all of these custom home sites, including the ones that are down here in the water. So you have 12 estate sites on the water, okay? And those are all about 1 acre plus. One of the first homes that was built was the show home that we built out here that was by Swabach and Partners. Swabach is the same same architect that designed the clubhouse at Ascaya. They actually led the design criteria for Ascaya. So they were the ones that came up with the whole entire concept for the community. The clubhouse, the sales center, all of those things were designed by Swabach and Partners. They designed the home here, completed it. It sold at like $725 a square foot, I believe, at that time, which was a record at that time for Lake Las Vegas. And so you still got, I think, 3 or 4 lots that are left down there as far as 1 acres. I don't know what's going here. I'm trying to find out if there's going to be a single story restriction. As you can see, most of the others have been built as a single story. So I'm hoping they're going to keep this one the same way. And we don't lose this view. But ultimately, you're still going to pick up lake views over there and stuff as well. But as they've opened this up, one of the first builders that was up here was Blue Heron. They started with homes that were only going to be about 900,000. Those homes ended up being like close to 3 million when all said and done when they were sold. So you can see that, it's kind of reestablished a market out here for modern. The other thing to keep in mind is Del Webb is up here as well. So a lot of people don't know this. Del Webb just built a new community. It's 500 plus homes up on the hill. You've got Toll Brothers and Kimball Hill and all of these companies that are now developing out here. And as you can see, right in front of us here is what's called the island. So the island is a new area. It's not technically an island. It's not sitting on its own. But basically what they've done is they've carved out all the way around it, all the way behind. So it gives you the feeling that you're out on an island. I think there's, if I recall correctly, I want to say there's 107 lots on the island. That's a mixture of Blue Heron and Toll Brothers. With Blue Heron's 2 products out there, and you can see their show home is being built out there right now. If you guys don't know, we have the other house that's listed up here on the hill, which is within this same community, 15 Falling Rock. and that is listed at 4.5 million. So you've got Blue Heron in here as well. These are 3rd-acre lots that were opened up, and then they still left these estate-style lots, the half-acre lots open here that all have killer views of the water. So if you guys don't know some of the golf courses in here, especially like, I'm drawing a blank on the name right now, Reflection Bay. Reflection Bay is one of the top-rated golf courses in the world. So if you have clients that are interested out here, and guys, this is what I want to talk about this morning too, is that when we go on these property tours, you should look at this no different than if you're taking a client out to show them home. You should be researching like Las Vegas to know that there's 2,200 homes in here. You should be researching to know what the average HOA is. You should be researching what amenities there are, because these are the things that matter to a luxury client. You walking in and telling them that this is 6,500 square feet, 4-bedroom with a office upstairs, they know that. They looked at that in Zillow. They have that information already. That doesn't help them at all. What helps them is knowing what goes on at the lake, when you can tell them that there's country concert every summer and there's all kinds of events that go on out there. And with the expansion on the other side, there's all kinds of new shops going into downtown. There's a grocery store being built out here. That is one of the major concerns for most buyers buying in Lake Las Vegas is, Darin, I'm going to have to drive 15 minutes, and it's not the greatest area, to the grocery store. And so knowing that they've torn down, which was formerly the HOA building out here, and that is going to be rebuilt as a larger grocery store. Right now they have Seasons, which I compare Seasons to kind of a smaller Trader Joe's. Would you say the same, John? So we've got Seasons out here, but they are building a larger grocery store that's going to be coming out here. One of the things that they've also done, so when the developer purchased this, so after 2009, when this came to a complete crash, I'm sure some of you guys have seen the movie The Big Short. Okay. So that guy in there, the crazy guy that played the drums and listened to AC/DC and all that stuff, he is actually the owner of Raintree Development. So a lot of people don't know that. So the guy's very good at forecasting what's going on in the market. He saw this as an opportunity, came in, purchased it, has put a shit ton of money into development of this project. And that's what you're seeing now with this. One of the things that went into development, as you guys, some of you have come down Galleria Drive, is Galleria Drive. One of the biggest complaints to Lake Las Vegas is, oh my God, I got to drive through an area that's not so great. Going down kind of Lake Mead and then, past the racetrack and all of that. So the developer put tons of money into developing Galleria Drive all the way down to the freeway. And as you guys can see, it's starting to be improved. As you come through here, there's roundabouts and landscaping and all the new home development. So my recommendation is if you bring a client to Lake Las Vegas, do not drive them through the main entrance and do not drive them down Lake Mead. It will be an instant deterrent. You want to make sure you bring them down Galleria Drive. My opinion is the agent, who I know very well, who brought them out here on Saturday, I asked him, which way did you drive? Oh, I brought them down Lake Mead. Shit. What was their number one complaint? They didn't like the drive out here. If you would have brought them down Galleria, it would have been a different approach, and I think they would have had a different opinion in the community. So just something to think about with this home. Again, it is 4-bedroom, 6-bath, 5-car garage. The garage is also, and this is critical to ask when you're listing a home, how high are the ceilings in the garage? And the reason is because, as we've seen, as people have become wealthy again, everybody's car collection has grown, and everybody has more than 3 cars again. So the first thing that somebody will ask is, Darin, can I fit a lift in that garage? And you want the answer to be yes. So if you're anywhere between 12 to 14 feet, typically, depending on the lift, you can fit a lift in there, which means they've got their Ferraris and Lamborghinis and all that stuff. They can fit those in there. So that's an important thing to ask when you're taking the listing, is how high are the ceilings, so that you can convey that to the client. The other thing that you'll see that he did here, which I really like and I think really creates a more custom feel to the home, is they added the entry gate here in the front. As some of you may or may not know, a lot of the communities, number one, don't allow you to park on the streets. So once this construction is completed, they probably won't allow on-street parking anymore. So if you're a buyer, that's looking to build here and live here, you're going to say, well, shit, man, if I have guests over, where do I park them? So that's one of the reasons why he created this whole carport out front, is that way you can pull the cars up, close the gate, and it just gives it a more secure feeling. If you look at the 2 homes next door that don't have the gates in front of them, you can see a major difference in how that home feels. This feels much more custom and much more exclusive with having that gate there. Again, I think it lends to the pricing of the home. One of the big factors on this home is, and how I justify pricing this home with where it's at, is again, the pool. You're not going to find that pool anywhere else, especially in a brand new home. So we're starting to see, as a lot of the new homes are completed now, you're seeing what 600 square feet looks like. I think some of the builders still need to get more creative on what they're doing. I think long term, it won't hurt us. The other thing I want to point out about this backyard, which I think is really great, is that typically when you have a pool this large, you have no backyard. It's all concrete. So I love what they did here with adding the grass in it. You've got grass down the side, a dog run. You still got plenty of landscaping, plenty of yard space, and you've got your large pool, which is really important. Couple things on this home is it does not come with home automation. Does anybody know why? Because most people would think at $7.3 million it should have home automation. Well, they do, but everybody's very, like, it used to be just Lutron, right? I mean, Crestron. Crestron was pretty much your only option in the market. Well, just like iPhone and Samsung or PCs and Apple, everybody has their preference on technology now. And so spending $150,000 on putting home technology into this, to have a buyer walk in and go, oh my God, I hate Control4. I hate Savant. I hate Crestron, right? So one of the strategies that I always use when I'm walking a property like this, the minute that somebody says that, or I will point it out to them. Because the last thing I want them to do is say, hey, I noticed this has no home automation in it. And then I try to make some shit up really quick. So I'll point out as soon as they walk in, hey guys, you'll notice there's a few things in this home that the home builder has not put in here. There's specific reasons for that because most of these things are a personal preference. Number one, you're not going to see any home automation in here. Although the home is completely pre-wired for home automation and ready to go. We didn't put home automation in for a reason. And the reason is that everybody has their own preference on the technology that they like to use. You may currently have Savant in your home now. That's what you're used to is Savant, and that's what you want to continue to use. Or you may have Crestron, and that's what you want to continue to use. So that's one of the things that you can also write into your offer. If you feel that's something that you want in the home, please write it into the offer. I still find a lot of older clientele, they don't want home automation. They want the flip switches. That's all they want. They want to know they can walk over, flip the switch. They don't want to mess with the home automation. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. Number two is you're going to notice that there's no drop shades in here. And again, somebody's going to say, oh, what are they trying to cut corners and save money? You can see that they've already planned. And this is a key detail to look at in custom homes when you're walking, especially when they're being built, is you can see the pockets up there. That's where your shades are going to hide under. So you don't have this big bulky box sitting out in the house. And that is a key feature to look at when you're walking a home. That's a cost savings for a builder. And so that's one thing that you can look at and say, oh, look, the builder cut corners here because he didn't put the pockets in there. So at least you've got the pockets here. But again, the shades, those can be a preference, right? Those can be a design preference, dependent on the finishes and the style of home that you're going to have. So again, it's something he left out because he doesn't want to put gray shades in there. And somebody says, oh, shit, we really wanted white or we wanted more of a tan color. So that's another thing that he's left out that a buyer could write into the offer. And that's something I always suggest to them right up front. Hey, just go ahead and write into the offer. I'll be happy to present anything. Of course, the closer to list, the better the chances that you're going to get those things thrown in. And then the third thing is you're going to notice that there's no built-in closets. And again, that's something that's of personal preference, right? So if you have a single guy buying this that doesn't have, you know, a bunch of purses and all that stuff that you'd normally see the builders factor in for, well, that's going to be an added cost to him. That's how they'll view it. It's because now he's got to rip that entire system out and put a new system in that's more fitting for him, right? Or vice versa. You have a female that's buying the house and she wants tons of space for dresses and purses and all that stuff, and they've built it more like a man's closet. Then again, you've got a challenge there again. So those are personal preferences that builders you're seeing a lot of times are leaving out and leaving as an option that they can either credit the buyer at closing or they can just factor it in and complete it just like they would any inspection item prior to closing. So that's another important factor to keep in mind. What else was I going to point out about this? One of the other things you'll notice on this home, anybody know what Lowy is? I bet John knows what Lowy is. I know Susan knows what Lowy is. Yes. So basically what that is, in a nutshell, to keep it very simple for a buyer, and this is something I pointed out to the buyer the other day, and they were actually really thankful, all of these windows have low E on them. And they're also thermal break. And so I know we've discussed thermal break before, and a home of this size with this much glass and this much metal, there's a large amount of heat that could transfer through those metal frames into the inside of the home. So what thermal break windows are is they basically run a divider between the two metals, right? The outside and the inside metal. There's a divider insulated divider that runs in between that. So when it's super hot outside, you can touch the inside of that window frame and it's not going to be hot. So you're not getting any heat transfer coming into the home and creating energy efficiency problems within the home. The low E is what I best describe as it's like sunscreen for the windows. Okay, so it's going to help block out the UV, which you're like, well, why does that matter inside my home? Because when you've spent $300,000 on restoration hardware furniture and it's sitting near the glass, and a year later, after taking that morning sun and it getting beat all day long, that furniture is going to begin to fade. And so that's one of the things that the low E will protect on the outside of that glass, is it's going to protect from that furniture being damaged. And so that's an important factor to keep in mind. Same thing with flooring. If you've gone into some homes, after 5 or 10 years, you'll notice that in certain areas, the flooring's been faded, the drapes have been beat to shit by the heat. That low E is something that protects that. So again, these are major things that you need to understand when you're selling one of these homes, because these are things that make a big difference and help a buyer justify the value and why they're paying for that home, right? It's the same thing with like a car. Like if that car has massaging seats, you're going to pay $15,000 more for that car because it's got massaging seats, right? So it's just another one of those key factors that go into this home and one of the selling points that you want to make sure that you're in tune with. And these are things that you guys should study on your own as well. So look up what Crestron is, look up what Savant is. We are going to be touring with Eagle Sentry. A friend of mine works over there now, so he's going to take us through and he'll walk us through the different home automation systems so we can learn those. We've got a flooring company that we're going to be walking through and understanding the difference between quartz and quartzite and porcelain and ceramic tiles and all those different things. Because the most important part of that also, you guys, is understanding the cost difference, right? I know what that type of window package runs versus a regular window package. With that type of low E glass and thermal break windows, you're going to probably spend twice of what you would spend on a typical aluminum window package, right? So those are costs that factor in. Using special insulating systems on the outside of the home or on the interiors of the wall, right? If you're only insulating the walls on the exterior versus insulating all of the interior walls, well, that doubles your insulation cost, right? Knowing how to excavate and build the retaining walls here, to have that type of pool, that's another significant cost that goes into the home. Having these type of pocketing doors where you have to have an iron beam come across the top of here, significant cost difference in the price of the home. So when you understand those things and you have a buyer's agent that walks in here and says, Darin, you guys are asking a ridiculous price for this home, and I can school them on all those facts and they don't have anything to say on that, guess who their client's going to rely on? Their client's going to look more towards me as the expert versus their agent who doesn't understand any of those features and what those features are. So it's an important factor to keep in mind. Some of the key things in this house also to point out is that the primary bedroom is downstairs. As we know, that's becoming a really important factor, I think, for two reasons. One, from a resale standpoint, and a lot of your clients, especially out here, if I was consulting with a client and they were building a home out here and they had the primary plan for upstairs, I would immediately tell them they need to put that downstairs. Does anybody know why? The what? The majority of your clientele in Lake Las Vegas are not going to be 30 years old. Most of them are going to be at retirement age, and this is a home that they plan to be, John, this is a home that they're going to plan to be in for 15 to 20 years. They see the challenges of having stairs, and they know that, okay, I want to be downstairs. I want the primary to downstairs. The other thing, like I've shared, I've got two builder clients right now that are building specs. Both of them originally wanted to put the primary bedroom upstairs. I said, dude, absolutely not. Because the minute you do that, you eliminate half your buyer pool. If we put the primary on the downstairs and you're a two-story, guess what? I can still sell the single-story buyers. So it opens up your, and again, in this price point, as you go through each price point, you go from $1 million to $3 million, $3 million to $5 million, $5 million plus. When you're talking $5 million plus, you've got like that many buyers, right? So it's something to keep in mind that you need to be able to address all of these things. When you're meeting with your client and they're saying to you, Jessica, I want to know what your opinion is. What should we be putting in this home? What are the key things? You better know what those key things are, because that's how they consider you the expert. Knowing that you need 2 water closets in the primary bedroom. That's a key factor, right? because that's what most buyers in this price range, when they walk into a home, if it only has one toilet, they're like, oh, why'd you guys cheap out and only put one toilet? I don't want to go in there after my wife, or I don't want to go in there after my husband, right? Like that's the thought process. And so if you don't inform your client of that when they're building, you've just jeopardized them. You've jeopardized the sale of their property by not knowing those little features, not knowing those little things are going to be really the garage height. I've had this conversation with several of my builder clients. They're building, and I'm like, how high is the garage? And they're like, well, dude, why does that matter? And I'm like, and I explain it to them, and they're like, oh shit, didn't think about that. Good call. We will make sure that it's 12 feet or 14 feet. So those are important factors to think about. These garages also, they use mini splits. Do you guys know what mini splits are? It's basically a cartridge air conditioning unit. So they can put it inside the garage. It has its own condenser on the outside. It operates separately from the rest of the AC units. But with it being in the garage, it's obviously going to help keep the garage cooled as well. So for their cars, they want them to come out in the summer, and it's going to be 120 degrees. They want to know that their cars are cooled. This is a great opportunity for them, or, this is a great incentive for them to have that in their garage. So the what? Yeah. The other thing is, guys, when you're showing these homes, this is the most important thing. It is an experience for the client when they walk in the door. If you walk in, you flip up the shades, you leave half the lights off, not a very good experience. You're doing an injustice to your seller. When you walk in here, all the shades should be open because natural light is a key factor in people deciding on a home that they're going to purchase. So you want to make sure the home is well lit, all the lights are on. You want to make sure the music is on because, again, it creates emotion, right? And it gets them to feel, right? And especially if there's good, fun music playing, it makes them think about living in this house. I remember a home that I sold in Askaya. That was one of the most exciting things for the clients. They were and it was something that even still today, when I talk to them, the first thing they say to me is, oh, Darin, do you remember when we walked in the home and our son's favorite song was on and he went out and danced on the patio, right? Like those little things make a difference because, guys, at this level, you're not just selling the square footage of the home. You're not selling the features. You're selling the emotion behind it, right? You're selling to them that, hey, guys, imagine on a Sunday evening when you want a glass of wine and you're sitting out here and the sun is setting. And I know that those hills turn pink in the evening and they're some of the most beautiful hills. And with the calming water, just picture yourself sitting out there on a Sunday, relaxing with your family and listening to music. And now they can start to envision that and understand what it's going to feel like to live here. And that tomorrow morning when you wake up, oh my God, the little Italian restaurant over here, they have brunch. Their French toast is excellent. Oh my God, we love French toast. Got to go try it out. Like those are the things that you have to sell to people. Not that, hey, this is 6,200 square feet. It's a 4-bedroom, 6-bath. They know that. So this is where the selling comes in. And that's where it leads into where we're at today, guys. Some of you may have seen I sent you about we've been talking about this with NAR's reversal on sellers offering buyer side commission. The NAR has now said that sellers no longer have to offer commission on the buyer side. That's going to be an immediate change in our market. I think I shared with some of you 2 weeks ago, we had 2 sellers in the same day tell us, make the buyers pay the buyer's agent their commission. So it's time that we're going to have to start ramping up what we're doing. It's time that we're going to have to really become, if there's any time that is important for reading and learning and knowing the products better than anyone else, now is the time, you guys, because it's going to be your skill set that's going to set you apart from anyone else. Again, like I've said before, if you're just sending them properties and you're stating the obvious, Zillow can do that for them and they don't have to talk to you. And most people don't want to talk to people anymore. So this is where you have to set yourself apart. This is where you should be driving these communities. You should be going into every new home development and understanding what products they have and knowing those products inside and out. And guess what? Those people that are out here in those show homes all day long, they've come across every question that you're ever going to have about Lake Las Vegas, and they can answer every one of them before you even know to ask them. So ask them, hey, what are the most common questions you're getting about living in Lake Las Vegas? Oh, well, how long is the drive to the airport? Check. That's something I need to know. I need to know that it's 39 minutes to the airport from here to, right? I need to know what's the closest grocery store. I need to know that how many people are full-time out here versus part-time, right? Because that's a main factor. If somebody's moving here and they want to be a part of a community, we have a client moving out of their home in the Ridges because they live in Fairway Hills, and although they love the Ridges, they're like, Darin, everybody in here must be a second homeowner. Man, we're fun people. We like to have glasses of wine with people. We want to hang out and talk and bullshit. And we walk outside and it's like a ghost town. right? You don't want to sell your client on that. If you know that your client's lifestyle is that they want to move here, be full-time, they want to have fun, they want to get to know the neighbors, and you're like, oh shit, by the way, I didn't tell you, 70% of the people that live in like Las Vegas are part-time homeowners. Oh, that would have been nice to know, Darin, because now we're lonely out here and we just bought a $7.5 million home. Or they'll say, oh my God, I love that because I hate my neighbors. I don't want to talk to anybody. I want people to leave me alone. And so this is a perfect community for me because I know that nobody's going to bother me, right? Or they're lake people and they want to go to the lake and ride their boat. Like these are all things that are really important in selling these homes. And this is what's going to, again, set you apart in this market is knowing that stuff. So that leads into prospecting, guys. If there's any time that you need to be prospecting, one of the greatest books, I'll share it with you guys all again, is Fanatical Prospecting. It talks about the key, number one, to being consistent with your prospecting, right? Because if you don't prospect for 30 days, you don't feel it until 90 days later, which I can personally attest to that because I didn't prospect for a couple months and I'm feeling the pain of that. But prospecting, again, doesn't have to just be calling. It can be emailing, right? It can be emailing family and friends. Hey guys, just wanted to reach out. Want to give you a quick update on the market. Have you seen where our inventory levels are at? Hey, do you know, I want to reach out. We're looking for homes to sell right now because there's no inventory. Could you guys please keep me in mind if you know anybody looking to sell? Right? That's an easy conversation. You didn't ask them for anything. You provided them some information and you're asking for some help. Hey, keep me in mind if you know anybody looking to sell. So those are important factors. So don't be afraid to reach out to friends and family with that. And that's an easy way to do it. It can be through text message. It can be through an email. And it doesn't have to always be calling. So just remember that. Again, vendors, I'm going to send you guys a video that I just watched on the way out here this morning. And it was with, I don't know if you guys know who Alex Hormozi is. Alex has become really, really popular. The dude is super brilliant. It's actually kind of funny. He always wears a little nose thing to keep from snoring. He wears it like all day long. And he wears like an undershirt and gym shorts and tennis shoes. And the dude's worth like hundreds of millions of dollars now. But you'll see he's extremely brilliant. But it was Ed Milet interviewing him. And it was awesome because one of the things they talked about this morning was how to sell in this market as a real estate agent. And I got to tell you what's funny. Neither one of them are real estate agents. And both of them had better answers on how to respond to a client than 99% of the agents that I speak with. That's because they know selling. And so that's why it's critical, guys, that we don't just learn about products in the market, but we research and we learn about selling. Zig Ziglar's and all of those people. You can listen to Zig Ziglar. He's long past and his books are 60 years old. And I can promise you will still pick up something from every one of his books that will apply to today. So make sure that one of the things they talked about, and this is what Alex Hormozi said, he goes, if I'm a new agent and I'm trying to sell to people, and I think he used luxury specifically, he said, I'm going to think, who are the people that work with these people all the time? House cleaners, landscapers, right? Handymen, architects. And Ed Milet starts laughing and he goes, Ed Milet says, I'm selling my house right now. Do you know how I met? He goes, I'm selling 2 of my homes. Do you know how I met both of those agents? One was from his interior designer. One actually knocked on his door. And then he's actually selling a third house. The third one came from social media marketing. That's how he found all 3 of his agents. And the one that knocked on his door, he said, oh, I respected that. Because I thought, he goes, this is one of the top agents in Laguna. And he goes, I respected that because I thought, holy shit, if they're out knocking on doors, this person's serious about selling homes. So just something to keep in mind, guys, that those affiliates are going to be, we've talked about this before, those affiliates are an important part of your relationships, especially in the luxury market, with creating those relationships and earning that business. Because they will refer you business, right? The cleaners know, because those homeowners are going to tell them, hey, Cheryl, whatever your name is, we're going to be selling next month. So I just want to we're going to up our cleaning to twice a week because we want to make sure that the home's ready to go. Oh, really? Who are you selling with? A good friend of mine's an agent. Oh, you know what? We haven't selected a new one yet. Oh, let me make an introduction. Guess what? Cheryl's in their house every day. Cheryl digs through their underwear and folds their underwear. Cheryl knows them better than anyone else. Do you think they're going to trust Cheryl? Hell yeah, they are. So that's why it's really, really important to make sure you're creating those relationships. Interior designers. If there's anybody that gets in the weeds with the intimate conversations about how somebody lives, it's an interior designer. They're going to trust that interior designer when that interior designer says, oh, you need to use so-and-so, right? So that's where you guys should be creating those relationships. You're talking about, when you want to talk about tapping into luxury, I've shared with all of you, I didn't come from a background of money, right? I didn't have those opportunities. I had to create those opportunities, and I created those opportunities through relationships. And those people helped get, because they already had the ties in. So I created the relationship with them. They got to like me. I referred them business. Now when there was an opportunity, they said, Darin, here, we want to introduce you to so-and-so because we really like you. We know you'll do a great job. And now those clients are in your face. So, an important factor to realize. Listing appointments, I talked about this on a video yesterday. I thought about it because a lot of you always ask about going on listing appointments with me. And I feel bad sometimes because we go on the listing appointment and it's already done. We're just going there to walk the house or sign the agreement. So you don't really get to learn, like, oh shit, like that's how he negotiated and got it done. And I started thinking about it and I'm like, why is that? And I realized because my listing appointments are more than a single conversation. It's more than a single appointment where I sit down and I have a conversation with the person and I try to close them. And especially at this level, right? You're not walking in at this level on a cold call and closing the person unless they already like you or they've already made the decision. Because most of them have already researched you. They want to see where you're at with social media. They want to see what your marketing looks like. They want to see what your website looks like. They want to know how many homes you've sold. They've already done the research. So you got to be careful because they probably know more about you than you may know about yourself. And so the critical thing with listing appointments at this price point is that it is all the stuff that you do prior to that single appointment that leads up to them listing with you. When you tell them that you're going to call them back at 10:30 tomorrow morning and you call them at 1:30, you've already lost their trust. When you tell them that you're going to do a certain thing, that you're going to pull information for them and you don't send them information, you've already lost their trust. The key to landing deals at this price point is that you're built, that listing appointment could be 2 years long, right? It could be you. I came out and looked at this house 18 or 12 months ago when they first bought the lot, before they were even out of the ground. I know everything about this house inside and out. Along with him, I gave him a lot of input as they were starting to design and build, right? So I'm very engaged. That's part of my listing appointment. So we got to the point the other day, they were going to meet with me this morning. They said, Darin, there's no need to meet. Just send us the listing agreement. That's where you want to be. And that's all the stuff that you do prior. And every client that I've ever had in my past, the biggest reason why they work with me, they're like, dude, the one thing I love about you, if you tell me you're going to call me tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, it's not 9:05, it's not 9:03, it's 8:59. And some of you know I sold a house, and I'll share this with you why that's important. I had a client that I sold a home on Shetland, which was Kenny Rogers' old house down in the old area of town, right? It was owned by, God forgive me, and I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, the owner of Treasure Island. Huh? Phil Ruffin, yes. So Phil's son calls me and says, Darin, my dad wants to talk to you. Please do me a favor. Make sure you're on that phone call 10 minutes early. I said, of course. He says, because my dad, even though you're supposed to talk to him at 9 o'clock, he will pick up the phone at 8:55 to see if you're there. And if you're not, he'll hang up and you'll never get a second conversation with him. That's why it's important, guys. You have to, at that level, they don't want people that's going to waste their time. And 3 minutes may not seem like a big deal in your world. It's a very big deal to them. Because if everybody in their day started to delay 3 minutes, it would push their entire day back. And now you've disrupted their day. Their meetings are late. So it's important that you're early. It's important that you're proactive with them. You're getting them information. You're looking out for them prior to them. When I was walking with this home, before I even knew what the design was, I was giving him inputs and shortcuts of things that he should be careful of when building this home. And this guy's a very experienced builder. He's been building for 40 years. Guess what? He's not. He's not an agent. He doesn't get to speak to clients every day and find out what they're looking for. So he was relying on me to be able to give him that information. So that's part of your listing appointment leading up to that day. That's why I can walk in with a notepad and close the deal, because I've done all my work for months prior to meeting with these people. So it's something really important to think about when thinking about your listing appointments. The other factor is that guys, is your weekly updates. It's actually funny because Hormozy talked about that this morning, is providing people constant contact and information, right? Especially in a market like this when things may be slow, feeding them that information all the time, letting them know what's selling, letting them know what's going on in the market. That's the stuff that they want to know, and that you're being proactive. I don't know how many of you have this set up yet. I know we've talked about it before, but every one of you, for every one of your areas that you farm and you market to, you should have a home search set up just like you send to your clients. So that every day, like I get every morning, Hunter sees it in all my emails, I get Lake Las Vegas, I get Anthem Country Club. I get Askaya. I get McDonald Highlands. I know every single day what's sold in those neighborhoods, what's gone under contract, what's new to the market, so that the minute one of my clients calls me, or even better, I can call my client who's been thinking about listing and saying, George, holy shit, dude, did you see the house down the street from you just sold at $14.50 a square foot? What, Darin, are you kidding me? Nothing sold at that price in here. Shit, I better get my home on the market. Yeah, you better. That's what makes the difference, guys. We've talked about it before. You are their financial advisor in the real estate space. If your stocks dropped or were dropping and your financial advisor didn't call you to tell you that, hey, you better pull your money out right now, and 6 months later you find out that your stocks have plummeted by 50%, are you going to still continue to work with that person? No. But if they call you and they're like, hey, your stocks are at an all-time high, and I'm telling you from what I'm seeing in the market, you better pull your money now and let's diversify, put that money somewhere else, just like you're talking to them about their home. It's the same conversation, guys, at this level. It's the same conversation. You are part of their financial team. And so you have to remember that. Keeping that information in front of you is super, super important, so that the minute you see one of these homes sell like this, you can call them up and say, hey, this home just sold at X price. We better get moving forward on that. Or I know that there's only X number of lots left in this community. I know that you are interested. I think if you don't pull the trigger now, you're going to regret it. So very, very important in those weekly updates. Knowing your business, we talked about that. Something we should all learn before we're coming out to these homes is know what's going on in the market and be able to ask those questions. So you guys can even ask me those questions. Hey, Darin, I looked in Lake Las Vegas and I saw that the majority of the homes are $550 a square foot. How do you feel that we can get $1,000 a square foot? That's the information you should want to know. Home search for your area, we talked about that. Showing the home. Again, going back to showing the home, when you guys come in, one of the things I do, it's actually something I learned when I sold insulation so that I didn't miss rooms. You start on the left and you weave your way around every corner, all the way around the house, and then you go upstairs and you start the same way. And when you leave, right, so that's turning on, in my world now, that's turning on the lights, making sure the doors are open, making sure the blinds are up, going through that way. When I lock up a house, I go the complete opposite way. I go back the other way and make sure that every single door is locked, even though I didn't walk out of it. Because what you don't know sometimes is that when you're showing a home like this, that one person sneaks off for a minute, they walk out that little side door to look. You didn't realize it because you were talking to the other client. Your client comes home and flips out on you because they said you left my side door unlocked. We never went out the side door. Well, somebody did because you left the side door unlocked. And even if it was your client, it doesn't matter because now it's your fault. And so that's one of the things you have to realize is that securing these homes is critically important to maintaining that relationship with your clients, because they are trusting you to open up their $7.5 million home. And if you leave that unlocked, and God forbid somebody walked in and stole their $150,000 watch, and trust me, word will travel through everybody in that community. Oh, I had my home listed with so-and-so, and they left my side door open, and somebody walked in and stole my $150,000 watch. You will never list another property in that neighborhood again. Trust me, because I had agents on the prior team that I was on that made those mistakes. And still to this day, when I meet clients and know them, oh, remember so-and-so that was on your team? I just had this conversation not long ago. He had my house listed when he was with you guys, and I'll never forget, Darin. He left. I came home one day and the fireplace was on and 3 of the doors were still open. That was 11 years ago. They don't forget. So really, really important thing to remember. Make sure all the lights are on, the music is on, toilets are flushed, the house smells good, garbage is out. If you walk in a house, and that's the other thing, guys, like I learned this from Florence. Florence used to carry a shop vac and a broom in her car. Do you know how many houses that Florence swept? How many houses? And this reminded me the other day, we walked a client through Granite Ridge, right? I got there. They happened to come through the door before I could get down there. It's a cockroach, single cockroach laying in the hallway. Do you know the one?
Not even in the condo.
Not even in the condo. Do you know the one thing they brought up to their agent they were concerned about? Cockroaches. If I would have caught that, my fault. I should have got there earlier. I didn't. If I would have caught that, I would have swept it up, cleaned it up, thrown it away. It amazes me how many times I walk through properties with agents and they've been in there showing that home and there's cockroaches on the ground, there's spider webs. Guys, that's your job to walk in and clean that stuff up. I mean, for a $7.5 million home, you're going to make well above 6 figures on the selling of that home. I will scrub the floors for them. I will clean the windows. Take their take their kids to school, whatever they need. I'm going to be there to serve them because I want to make that process easy. And I want them to come home and say, oh my God, Darin, I forgot my little one went to bathroom in the toilet. Did you? Yes, I already got it. It was flushed. Everything's good. Oh my God, thank you. That would have been so embarrassing, right? Those are real world situations. Those things really happen, you guys. So it's something to make sure that you're looking out for. Again, music is on, details. You've walked the home prior, and that's why it's key to get there early. When I say early, 10 minutes is not early because most of the time you'll show up and the buyer's agent's sitting outside with their client ready to go. You want to be able to get there early enough. I'd say 30 minutes early that you can make sure that everything is on. If there's a situation, and this happens, shit, the rear shades aren't going up. What's going on? That gives you time to call your client without stressing and say, hey, look, the rear shades aren't going up. Oh, Darin, no problem. I can operate that from my phone. I'm going to open those up, right? Versus calling them at 9:59 when your showing's at 10, blowing up their phone 10 times. Hey, I can't get the shades on. I can't get the shades to go up. The music's not working. Now you've just stressed your client out. And your client's like, oh shit, man, well, hold on. I'm in a meeting. Give me 5 minutes. Now you've just disrupted their day. So again, that's why being early is really important because you want to be able to call them 20 minutes ahead of time. Hey, Cindy, I don't mean to bother you. But for some reason I can't get the shades up and I cannot get the music to come on. Oh, Darin, you know what? I'm sorry. We've noticed that we've been having that issue. Here, let me click this on my phone. It'll work. Always something wrong, especially with the shades. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten to houses and the shades don't work. And I've had to call like literally the service company. Hey, and they're like, oh, there's a reset button. This was a house I had listed on Delavante. I had that issue. Couldn't get the damn shades open all of a sudden. And with those shades closed, the room was pitch black. So it's really, really important to remember those things. Trying to think if there's anything else to show in the home. Making sure that obviously today we're not worried about it because they're still under construction. But guys, when we list these homes, the first thing that we should be doing when we go listed is taking them a care package. So certain things that need to go in those homes. One of the things I like to do even, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't done it lately, but those little sprayers from like Bath and Body Works or whatever that place is, just to walk around the house real quick, a couple sprays, freshen the home up. Because also keep in mind, a lot of people don't live here full time. The house has been sitting for 3 months and closed up. It's probably not going to have the best smell. Or when they left, they forgot that their daughter threw garbage in the garbage can, and now it reeks in that house. Again, why you want to be there early enough to make sure that you can clean the house out, get it smelling good, open up all the doors, so that when that buyer walks in the door, it's a great experience. I share this with all my clients regarding like staging and the experience of the home. Is think about how you feel when you walk into a model home. When you walk into a model home, you are so excited. You will spend way more money than you can afford to on that home just because that home gets you so excited that that's what you want. So it's really, really important with that's why the presentation on these homes is so important. And again, nothing worse than, and I've been there with my buyers, we're sitting there waiting for the listing agent to show up. The listing agent runs up. Oh, hold on, come on. They're at the front door, trying to figure out how to get the front door, trying to figure out how to get the lockbox open. They're stressing out. Oh, let me run around, get the shades on. You've created a stressful situation for the client where like I've literally had clients say, oh my God, dude, this person's a mess. Like I've heard that. I can't tell you how many times. This person's a mess. Do you know what the client translates that to as far as transactions? Oh my God, if we work with this person, it's going to be an absolute nightmare. Okay. This is how they think. So this is why it's so critical to make sure that we're early so that when they show up, we're calm. We can invite them into the home and we can have a good conversation with them that's not stressful. And we're not running around the house as they have 10 other questions and spending, because they may only have 15 or 20 minutes to preview that home. And we've just spent the last 15 minutes setting that house up and had no conversation with them. And by the time you come back down and the lights are on, they're like, okay, thank you. And they're out the door. That's not the conversation you want to have with them, especially at this level. So just something to keep in mind for showings. Community updates. I know some of you have been posting your videos. Again, we've talked about that, why that's so important is just knowing the communities and sharing that with all of us. And that's all I have. Any questions? Yeah. Yeah. So they are going to stage it. So again, that was one of the things that I brought in as experience to them. They didn't want to stage it. Darin, we don't spend the money. I said, I'm telling you, at this price point, it's really critical And they're like, Darin, we've sold houses like this before with no furnishings. And I said, I understand. Here's what's changed in our market. The highest percentage of our buyers in this price range are not from here. They're from California. And guess what? In California, in this price point, it's standard that the homes are staged. So you have to remember, your buyer is walking in with an expectation of how something is supposed to be done. And when they walk into a home and it's completely vacant, there's two thoughts. Oh, the person ran out of money. Time to negotiate, because that's what I would do. Oh, they ran out of money. They don't have money to stage it. They just built a $7 million home and they don't have $250,000. Time to negotiate. They need to get rid of this thing. Low offer, right? Or two is that they've vacated. This is now sitting on the market. They've moved into their other home. They need to get rid of this thing. Time to negotiate. Guys, that's real world. I've had those conversations with buyers, and I've encouraged them based off that information, let's go in low. I can tell based on how the home is maintained, because the home hasn't been maintained. Light bulbs are out. The smoke alarm's chirping. I can tell sprinklers are broke. Person's stressing for money. Let's go in low. Let's negotiate. We've got room, right? Those are all signals to somebody who's experienced that, oh, this person's in trouble. So you want to make that home look like, hey, we've got everything out here. We've put the money into this home. It's ready to go. We're waiting for the right buyer, and that you're in a good position. And one of the ways that you do that, believe it or not, is by staging the house properly and making sure it looks like it's ready to live in. And again, it's selling the vision, right? It's selling that vision when somebody walks into this, because although we may be able to look at this room because we walk through thousands and thousands of homes and say, oh, I'd put the carpet here and I'd lay the couch out here and do this and this and this. For the average person walking in, even though they've come from that, they walk in here and they're like, oh my God, where would I put my couch? Where am I going to put my TV? Where am I going to do this? Where am I going to do that? So you got to have that vision already sold for them. Jessica, don't yell at me. Because I'm trying to read. That's it. Any questions? Questions? Who's the builder? Good question. Because that's a question a lot of people are going to ask. So good point, and that's something I got to get from him too, is the architect. I think the architect on this was Randy Spitzmeiser, but I got to confirm that. But that is another thing when you list these homes, two things to always ask for, architect and builder, because the one thing people want to do is they want to look up who that builder is and make sure that there's not tons of complaints about them. They want to make sure they're buying a quality home. And so the builder on this is actually Lux Design and Build. It used to be Palazzo Homes, and he built probably 30 or 40 homes in Romy Hills. He's built several homes in Escaya. They changed the name on the company about 3 years ago because Palazzo represents more Italian, Tuscan, Mediterranean style homes. They knew that the direction was going modern, and so they changed the name to Lux Modern Estates. And that's where they're at now with the name. I will get the architect's name for you. And I think that's it. So if you guys haven't had a chance to walk through, take a quick walk through. Again, you got double islands. In the primary, the one thing I wanted to point out in the primary bathroom is you'll notice there's kind of this divider in the shower. So you walk into the main shower. The second part of that shower, or the door that you open, is actually the steam room. So there's a steam room in there, which is really nice. It's all incorporated into the shower. You've got your sitting room. All those doors pocket open. Real wood on the ceilings. That's all oak on the ceilings outside. All the oak has been treated so that it can sustain the heat on the outside. Where you see those pockets or openings, those are going to be outdoor heaters. You'll have outdoor speakers as well. Upstairs is really cool. I joke about this, and you guys know I always talk about this, but incredible gym upstairs. So when you walk upstairs, that's the only room that's upstairs. It can either be an office or a gym or whatever you want it to be. There's a patio out here as well. And then all those doors pocket open. All the doors pocket open on the primary bedroom as well. And yeah, so take a look through if you haven't had a chance.